Okay, so we've got these drawings that we've been provided with of your retail space, and I've created JPEG copies of all of the drawings, but I'm going to begin with the floor plan that you can see there, and bring that into Revit so that we can use that as a basis for the model that we're going to create. So, into Revit, I'm going to use the architectural template as always to begin, and of course create a new file. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to duplicate my view by right-clicking on the ground floor plan, and then going to duplicate. And of course we've got a copy of that view, and I'll show you one of the nice little new features with, it should be working with 2019. You can double-click, normally, on my computer it works, to change the view names now. That's a new feature, but of course you can see there it's not working for me this time. I don't know why. It's on these computers. So if that doesn't work, you can always use the old option of right-clicking and then going to rename. And I'll just call this ground floor DWG or something like that, just so that you know it's the copy with the image inserted. And then I'm going to go to the image insert tab and click image to bring in our floor plan. Then I need to browse onto the, not the P drive, I'll put it onto the V drive this time. The V drive, and then your class folder 5x2019. And then in that retail design, don't go to the zip file, by the way. So in fact, I might just delete that while I'm there, because you can open zip files while you're browsing, but be careful of that, because if you're opening or inserting a file from a zip folder, it works differently. It doesn't work as well, basically. So there, now we just have the folder, and I will get the file from there, and I'll just check which page it is. I think it's, 3. So page 3 there, and open. And I'm then just going to click to place it. Okay, so whenever you're bringing in a reference image like this, which is to scale, it has accurate sizes, then you need to think about the scale. And so I can tell even now just by eye visually that it's too big. Well, I'd be fairly sure it's too big, because we've got these 4 compass point, or the elevation views, and they're always the same size or the same spacing, and if they're that much smaller than the plan, we know the plan is far too big. So the secret to scaling an image like this is to look for any visual reference, in other words, any measurement that's going to give you a size. It's great if you've got a scale bar. That's why I'll always ask people to provide scale bars on their drawings. I think that's a really good practice. In this case, they haven't. They've listed the scale at least, but they don't have a visual scale. And you all know what I mean by visual scale, I'm sure. Yeah, right. So then, if you don't have one of those, again, it's not the end of the world, as long as you have a dimension somewhere. You can always use that. So there, of course, we've got this dimension that I'm going to use, 4330. So making sure that image is selected, I'm going to click the Scale tool, and then zoom in and get it as accurate as possible. And if you're wondering where to choose the line, in any digital drawing, it's always the middle of the line that the measurement's taken from. That's not always the case with hand-drawn drawings. That's a really good idea, yeah. That's right, yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be the absolute longest, but yeah, longer is better, because you're absolutely going to be more accurate, definitely, yeah. So this one is probably close to the longest, there may be some longer ones, but yeah, not too much bigger. They'll all be about the same. But yeah, definitely, yeah, try to not use ones that are too small, because that won't be anywhere near as accurate. Yeah. And yeah, so I've chosen one end of my dimension, and now I'm going to go and find the other end of that dimension. And again, trying to zoom in and get as accurate as possible, right on the centre of that line, and then type in 4330. Okay, so now you can see, relative to our views, that plan is a much more reasonable size. And dragging it, of course, just into the centre of those elevation views, and that's a really good practice. And also think about where the section is, so that when you start modelling things, it's all ready to go and will be visible in those views. And so then, before I go and put some references in that'll come up in other views, I'm going to go and check some of these measurements. So we can see how accurate the scaling is, and also how accurate the original drawing might have been. So using the measure tool on the modify tab, or you'll often have a button up here on the quick access toolbar, but also get it from modify there. And again, zooming in to get nice accurate measurements. Oops. Okay, so yeah, just making sure it's vertical. And so that measurement is 10,125. Okay, 10,130. So yeah, 5 mil off, maybe it is worth rescaling it. So yeah, if you're saying longer is probably better, that one is obviously a longer measurement than the one I used, so I'll try that one. So I'll just scale again. There's nothing wrong with that. So again, select the image, click on the scale tool. It's only going to change fractionally, but again, it's worth it. So zooming in, right on the centre. And again, right there to the centre. And so it was 10,130. Now I'm just typing that while I'm zoomed in, and I'll be pretty sure that's gone in properly, but if I zoom out, there we go, I can just make sure that those numbers are correct. Enter. It'll be almost imperceptible that there's been a change, but now again, if I measure, make sure. You're not building this, and you're not going to be taking construction measurements, so it doesn't really need to be this accurate, but it's good to know how. So there we are. So you can see, even though I've clicked points it is, it's 1 mil closer. So it'll never be perfect because it's a pixel-based image. But, you know, get it as accurate as you can. It'll just make it a bit easier for you later when you're doing your measurements. You get another chance to make it accurate as well, because the next thing would be to put in some reference planes. So I'll just do that, and then I'll give you some time to try this. So using good old reference plane tool on the architecture tab. So now I can draw in the primary dimension, measuring points or references that I want to be using. So in this interior space, we've of course got the inside face of that wall there that gives us the size of the space. So I'm just drawing my reference plane and making sure that the ends stick out from those walls. And then I'll draw another one up here, again just tracing the walls to start with. And I'm just fussy here. I try to line up the ends of my reference planes, even though it doesn't really make a difference. And so then I can find the dimension between those two reference planes and type in the measurement that I know it should be. So again, 10,130, enter, zooming in, you'd barely be able to notice that that reference plane's just moved. But when you're drawing things later, let's go back to the ground floor plan where we can see those reference planes without the original, without the base image. And of course then the walls and the other things that you trace over these reference planes are going to have those accurate measurements. So I'll just do a couple more reference planes so you get the idea. So we want some vertical planes going the other way. So here you might need a couple, one for the, maybe for the entry, another one for the edge of the tenancy and so on. So use your judgment there, but I'll just put one in maybe where the dimensions are. Oh, well, actually we don't have an overall dimension there, so we might need to put in a few intermediate ones even. So I'll just do the outside for now, we can always adjust that. So Maybe just tracing over that blue line now, just to give you an idea. Okay, so I'd have to go and do a bit of adding up to work out what that total should be. So I won't do that now, but you can see there that the measurement is, again, not a round number, so we're just going to round that off. So it's 22114.5, so I'll just make it 22115 for now. And again, it is good to work with round numbers if you can. And then, of course, going back to the ground floor plan, you can see those two other reference planes. Again, it's just me being fussy and lining up the ends. And then you can also see them in the elevation and the section views, which can help a lot as well. So if we go to, say, north, you can already see how big the space is. And it does help, because at the beginning, if you start setting up things like your levels and make sure that the ends of the levels stick out past your reference planes, but not, or past your space, but not too far. You, of course, don't want really long levels either. It really helps a lot later with the management and just the setup of your views generally and working with those views. I'll make these ones come in a little bit maybe. And there we go, check south as well. That's all right, and the section. And so then finally we've been looking at the plan setup, putting those dimensions for the length and the width of the space. But then now, going back to the section, we can start to put in the heights. You know, we're setting the vertical constraints. And so there we've got a height for the bulkhead there in that first part where the services are obviously high or something, but then it drops down as well. So we're going to need two levels for that, and there should be another measurement for that somewhere. Oh no, that's fine. I think they've done it with text, haven't they? I think there's that. What's it? Here we go, nominal AFFL. So AFFL means above finished floor level, 3400 by 10. So in other words, that's as high as the ceiling can be. Also, you can't change that height. Essentially, you've got to work within that. So 3400 is the first one I'll put in. Change level 1. And so that can be ceiling 1 or something for now. And maybe just the very last thing, I'll put another level in now for the higher ceiling. You check that, so it was the one that had a dimension 4050. And that's not even from the FFL, but we'll say it's close enough. So 4050. There we go. And it's overlapping the other level, obviously. So a nice simple thing you can do there is to change the scale to 1 to 50. Saves you having to move the tags, and you should be able to then read the text. So I'll give you a minute just to try those things, and then continue on and let's get into some modelling.